Welcome to our coding lesson today. We are going to be focusing on conditional formatting. I'm sure you have some coding experience prior to this, probably using programs or websites such as Scratch or maybe R of Code, or you might even know other programming languages. So today, though, we're going to apply coding knowledge into Google Sheets, and specifically with conditional formatting. So you might be wondering, what is conditional formatting? Conditional formatting, and coding in general, is giving a computer or a program instructions on exactly what to do when something happens. So for example, an everyday example would be, if the traffic light is red, then you must stop your vehicle. Or, when you're done brushing your teeth, then you must go to bed. Now, conditional formatting plays a really big role in coding, but it can be applied to Google Sheets, which is what we're focusing on. Okay, so I'm going to lead you through a series of steps. After each step, I'm going to ask that you pause this video so that you can complete that step. If you weren't sure what to do, then you can go back and rewatch the step. So the first thing you need to do is we're getting started, and we're going to open up a brand new Google Sheets. So if we go into our Google Drive, you might have a math folder that you want to open it up in, but we go to the new button here and we click on Google Sheets, and you're going to create it. Anytime you ever create anything within Google Drive, you want to make sure you're titling it, because then you can easily find it later. So we're going to title this what did we say? In the instructions, I said multiplication table. So we'll title it that. Okay, and then this is a project you'll work on over the next couple days. So start at the same time. Then next time when you go to look for it, you not only have it labeled here, but in your drive you can go to your starred folder and it will show up within this section. Now, I have a lot of documents that are starred, so it's not as easy, but for you it should be fine. Okay, so that's our first step. The second thing I want you to do is, now that you have opened up a Google Sheet, I want you to look around and see if you can find something called conditional formatting within the menus. You might recall that these tabs up here, this is called the menu bar. Okay, so we can click on them and we can see all these different tasks that are listed. And so if you go through, are there any that you can see that say conditional formatting? Okay. Okay, so hopefully you did see it, that it was located under the Format tab. And if you go down just a little ways, it'll say conditional formatting here. Okay, we are going to be coming back to this, so just keep it in your mind that it's under the Format tab. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to change our grid. So each of these, see the blue highlighted box? Each of these rectangles are called cells. And we're going to change the size of the cells. We want them to be squares, so they look like pixels, because we're going to end up making pixel art in this project. So what we want to do is, you're going to, if you see this rectangle that's between the 1 and the A, if you click it, it highlights your entire spreadsheet. So this is a very handy feature, as opposed to trying to drag, and it's much more difficult to make sure you're doing all of them. Okay, so click that box, you're selecting everything. And then if you go in between the letter A and B and you hover with your mouse, you'll see an arrow shows up. So you're going to click on that and drag it over. Because all of the cells are highlighted, it's going to make every cell this size. So make it as close to a square as you can. And then notice it made all of them that size. This is a good time to expand our workspace by copying and making it bigger. Okay, so you'll see over here on our next slide, you can copy and paste the grid to make it much larger. So you can right click, copy, or you could do Control C, and you can do Control V, or I could have right clicked and clicked on paste. Okay, so now my workspace is double the size. Okay, so now I have everything set up as I want. Please make sure you pause the video to make sure that you have done those steps. Okay, so our next step is we are going to create a legend. So you'll recall that a legend gives us information about what we are seeing. So here we are going to do a legend from 1 to 12. And so that's our first step. So go back over, make sure you're in cell 1A. Okay, and I'm going to type in the number 1. And if I press enter, it will bring me down to the box below or the cell below and type in the number 2. And I can press enter again. Now, if I click on number 1 and number 2 and drag them or highlight them, you'll see that there's a little square blue box here. If I click on this and drag it down, it will continue that pattern. So that's a very handy time saver. Okay, so now part of the legend is, I had told you earlier that we're going to create pixel art, and with art, usually there's color, and that's the case for this one. So we are going to create a legend with colors. So the number 1 is going to be a color, and I'm going to follow with the rainbow colors. So right now I've clicked on the cell that's beside the number 1, and I'm going to click on the paint can, which is called fill color, and I'll select red. Then I'll go down to the next box. I can use the arrow key to go down there and click on orange. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue. I'm going to do a couple blues. Blue, blue, blue. Purple. I'm going to do a custom purple. So I'll show that to you again. So I'm in a new cell here. If I click on the paint can and I go to custom, I can go to a color that I like. I can move this here. I can say okay and see it colored in with the next one. I'm going to do some more custom colors. I'll go towards the pinks. Of course, you can pick whatever colors you like, but you're going to want a wide spectrum, meaning a wide variety of colors. I have a little bit too much purple going on here, I think. So I might want to change one of these. Okay, you'll notice that when I click on the paint can, the colors that I custom picked show up down here as opposed to in the set ones, okay, which will be handy later. Okay, so I'm just going to keep it like that for now, that's fine, but do make sure that you want those colors, okay? So now that we have our legend set up, we need to make sure, well, we're going to do some conditional formatting. So please make sure you have numbers 1 to 12 and you have given or assigned a color to each of them. So pause the video right now to make sure you have that complete before you move on. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to do conditional formatting. There are 2 different ways that we can access conditional formatting. So, but we only want conditional formatting applied to a certain area. So for example, or not for example, but I want you to click on C1. So the box that's directly to the right of the red box, okay, or whatever color you put beside the number 1. So we want to click on this box and drag the area, the workspace, okay? So you see I've selected this workable area here. I have not selected anything in my legend. Okay, so once you've selected that, there's 2 ways to bring up conditional formatting. If you remember earlier, I showed you that it is located under the Format tab. So you could select it here, conditional formatting. Alternately, you can actually go to the paint can and it's right here. Okay, once I clicked on that, you'll notice that a menu shows up on the right-hand side. At the beginning of the lesson, we talked about what conditional formatting is and that it's instructions that you give a computer or a program. So here, I want you to notice that there are 3 main areas to this menu. So we have the range. This range, these numbers, that's just telling me what boxes I've highlighted. So see, it says C1, here's C1. And I selected it all the way until AY26. So if I slide over here, look, here's AY and 26. Okay. Now, if I wanted that area to be smaller, I could change that. I could say AS26 and watch what happens. Okay, so then whatever I put in for my conditional formatting will show up as AS26. Okay, so let's do that again. So click on C1 and then drag it to whatever you can see on your screen. Okay, so now it's selected. The second thing you'll notice is it will say Format Cells If. If you click this drop-down menu, it gives you a whole bunch of options. And we are only going to focus on one of them, and that is text is exactly. Please make sure you select this one. You're going to have to select it each time. So the instructions I'm giving you right now, we will be applying it 12 different times, okay? So over and over again, the same thing. So you select text is exactly, and now it's asking you to put in a value or a formula. We are going to put in the value of 1 because we're going to format the cells if you use the number 1. So I'm going to put in the number 1. And what color is associated with 1? It's the red. So I'm going to select red. I'll say done. That's how you save that. Okay, so I've done conditional formatting of this area with the number 1. So if I click off of here and I type in the number 1, watch what happens. Okay, so this has been conditionally formatted that any box I enter the number 1 in shows up. Okay, now I want to undo that because I'm now going to, now I'm going to do the rest of my area. So you'll notice that this stayed open. I'm going to add another rule. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the number 2. So I keep this, just leave that alone, apply the range. As long as it's highlighted the workspace, you're fine. We're going to select text is exactly, this time the number 2. Now put in your number 2 color, which for me it's orange. I'm going to add another one. Text is exactly 3. My number 3 color is yellow. Again, text is exactly 4. My number 4 color is green. Next, text is exactly 5. Select the color, say done. Hopefully you are getting the idea of this now. Text is exactly 6. And I think that was the right color there. Now, if you realize you made a mistake, like I'm pretty sure I made a mistake for this one. So if I click on that one again, then I can fix the color because I think it was supposed to be this one. Okay. If you make a mistake and it was wrong, then you'll see if you hover over it, there's a garbage can and you can remove that rule. Okay, I have finished my conditional formatting for those highlighted boxes. Just to make sure that this was working, I want to test it out. And if I look at my conditional formatting, I've done all of them, but I'm going to try it out just to be safe. So if I go 1, 2. Hmm. That's interesting. So this one I put in the number 0. And so for some reason, it is coding the number 0. And that is because I made an error here. That's why you need to check it. So notice how when I put in the number 0, and 0 is not in my legend, it turned a color. So then I would need to look back in what I did here. And I did them all accurately, except look at this one. It says cell is not empty. So I need to click on that because I forgot to put in text is exactly 12 and then say done. Now see what happened? The 0 is unhighlighted. Okay, so this is correct. So I can highlight that and delete it now that I've done my check. Okay, so please make sure you have accurately done your conditional formatting. Okay, so now this is our base template that we're going to work on to create some art. Okay, so what you want to do though, so you don't lose this work, is you want to make sure that you are keeping a template. So you'll notice in Google Sheets, there is a tab at the bottom. See how it says Sheet 1? So this is basically, you can make kind of a whole notebook of stacked sheets on top of each other. Or not on top of each other, but beside, and you can flip from one sheet to another. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to click on this arrow and I want you to duplicate it. Okay, now you'll see it says copy of sheet 1. So I want you to go back to sheet 1 here though, and I want you to click it here and say rename it and call it template. Okay, and this one I'm going to name it practice 1. Now you'll notice on the template one here, the arrow, it looks like I can protect the sheet, but I don't think we'll get into that for right now. So just this template one, make sure you're not working in this, because if you make a mistake or something is deleted in your practice sheets, then you can just go back to the template and duplicate it. So I'd recommend you do a couple, and you can also delete the sheet, right? So I can delete that sheet. I'm going to go to the practice 1 here and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to make 3 of these. Okay, and I'll rename them. So make sure you pause the video to do that right now. So I have 3 practice sheets, oops, and I have a template. Okay, so the point of this activity is to create some art, but we also want you to use your multiplication tables and division tables. So now is the part where we are going to get into equations. Okay, so equations in a Google Sheet is really great. So we're going to try and create art that way. So let me show you what some of the codes are for an equation. So if we go here, so our operations, we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. But the symbols look somewhat different. Addition, you'll notice addition looks exactly the same, and so does subtraction. You'll notice those on your keyboard. But when we multiply, we use the star key. So don't use an X, you have to use the star key. And when we divide, we're using the /. Okay, so these ones you need to remember. And then we are also using the equal sign. When we use an equation in Google Sheets, it's important that we do not have spaces between the numbers or the symbols. And we always start with an equal sign. So let's try something out. Okay, so let's do, I'm just going to pick any cell here, and let's do equals 2, I'm going to do times, so I need to find the star key, 2 times 2. Okay, so here's my equation, equals 2 times 2. If I press enter, it tells me it's 4. That is correct. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's do, remember, equals 5 times 2. Enter. 10. Correct. Okay, I can also do division though. So let's do 80. Oops, I forgot my equal sign. So if I tried to do this without the equal sign, look what happens. So if I do 80 divided / by 10, what happens? Nothing. So I would have to go back. If I want to edit this, you'll notice that it shows up in this bar right here. So I just click up here. I could either double click here and move my cursor over, or I can click up here, which is actually easier. And then you put an equal sign and then press enter. And then it's coded it correctly. Okay. I can do addition and subtraction. So let's do equals 6 plus 4. Enter. 10. I can do equals 20 minus 20 minus, how about 8? Enter. 12. Okay, so as you can see, I'm able to code or color specific cells based off an equation. So I really want you to be doing that. I don't want you using the paint can to fill a box. That's not the point of this, okay? Like, sure, you can do that, but do you notice how there's no number in it? So then when you go to hand this in, I will know that you have not coded it, because the difference between this one, there's nothing here. But this one here, if I click on it, it shows the equation that you used. Okay, so you need to actually use equations. If you've made a mistake or you don't like something that you've put in, like I don't like some of these color combinations, I would click on the cell and I can use the backspace or the delete button to get rid of them. I could also click and drag and I could press delete to get rid of them here. Notice how this one does not go away because I did not put an equation to format it. So you would actually have to go back to the paint can and click reset. Okay, so now your task, and remember you have the whole workspace here that you formatted to create a picture. So you might want to think about what colors and what pictures you want to do. So I'm going to try and do a smiley face. So I'm going to start off with a square, and I'm going to see if this works. Equals 12 divided by 4. Okay, so it only does one at a time. So then I'm going to have to, let's see if I can expand it out. Okay, so you can expand it out that way if you want multiple colors in a row. Okay, so you can do, I can do this here, and then I can select it again, click on that little box there, drag it over. Now I might have wanted to select as one of my key colors black. So I'm actually going to go into my formatting. I'm going to change the number 9 from purple, and I'm going to make this black. Okay, and then I'm going to change this box here to make it black so I remember. So now here, I can do equals 3 times 3, and there's my black dot. So you can change the colors. Just make sure you change your legend so you don't forget. And again, I would do equals, I could do 6 plus 9. So try and do different, or sorry, 6 plus 3. Try and do different equations to come up with the same one. Now, if you have a whole row, like I'm going to have here, I might just pick the same one, 3 times 3. And remember, I can click on it and drag it across. Okay, and then I'll want one here. Okay, I can, so I've got a smiley face here. I can fill it in by dragging them over. I would like to see a little bit more challenge though, so use more than 2 colors. This is just to give you an idea of what you can do, okay? Okay, so now you've had some time to figure out the conditional formatting and how entering an equation or a number in a cell will change the color of it. So if we go back to here, okay, so I did my smiley face, and then my final one, I decided to do a flower. So this is my interpretation of a flower. And I want to go over the success criteria with you for this. Okay, so how you will be marked on this project. So if we look at success criteria here, the first thing we want to see is that you've created either a pattern or a picture. Okay, so some sort of representation. It should not just be random colors. Okay. You've used at least 5 colors. So you can see on my flower, I've used more than 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've used 7 colors. If you can use all of them, that's amazing, right? Then you're bumping it up to more of a level 4. Each of the colored cells has an equation entered. So if I click on any of these cells, I can see the equation up in this bar here. If I see that you've just put in, it looks like this. So, I mean, it looks fine when I look at it here, but if I click on that cell and all there is the number 3 and no equation, that has not met the success criteria. I want to be able to see here, look, 18 divided by 6, and there's the answer, 3. 50 divided by 25 is 2. Okay, so this is what we're looking for, is that it's an actual equation, not just typing in numbers. Okay. The next one I'm looking for, that you have a variety of equations to calculate to create the same color. So if you recall this one here, I used just 12 divided by 3 to get the 4, and it's the same for all of them. That's not what I want to see. I want to see something like this, where let's click on the 12. Here I have 144 divided by 12, 72 divided by 6, 120 divided by 10, 108 divided by 9, 48 divided by 4. And you might think, wow, that's like a lot of work. I'm not sure I can do that. But you all have access to multiplication tables in your agendas online or in this slide deck here. So let's say your ultimate color is you want to have 9 because you want this purple color. Then you can look at your multiplication table and go down the nines times tables, right? And you can see I'm going to do 99 divided by 11 because I know that's going to give me the answer of 9. So here I can go equals 99 divided by 11. And there it's turned purple because the answer is 9. So use your multiplication table to help you come up with a variety of different equations. You most likely will be using mostly division for this rather than multiplication because multiplication makes the number bigger, so you are pretty limited to this end of the multiplication chart. However, if you use a division, you can use the entire multiplication chart. Okay? The next success criteria I'm looking for is that you have labeled the sheet that you want your teacher to see as final. So you'll notice down here, remember there's practice 1, we have another practice 1, and then the final one, you've renamed it to say final so that your teacher knows this is the one that you want your teacher looking at, not your initial practice one that doesn't meet any of the success criteria. Okay. You can rearrange them in order. See, they can slide around. It really doesn't matter as long as you've named it accurately. If you want to edit your image and there's some things you don't like about it, like perhaps you think, oh, I wish that one was not there, you can click on the cell, press delete, and it will go away. Okay, so you can edit your picture after it's been filled as well. Okay, so that is the assignment. You have lots of time to work on this. Day 1, you're just really going to be figuring out the conditional formatting, and then day 2, you will be practicing more about using your multiplication table to create a pixelated design of some sort. Okay, have fun with this, and I can't wait to see what you create. So once you are certain that you have met the success criteria for your final edit and you have more time and you would like to challenge yourself more, you can go to the final bump it up options. So stretch and challenge yourself with some of these ideas. You don't have to do all of them. You might want to just try one of them out. But the easiest thing to do would be to expand your legend to have more numbers and colors. So you might want to do that in a blank one. You might want to make a copy to make another blank one. And you can expand this out to, say, remember you have to select 2 of them. Oops. There we go. Okay, so to do that again, you click on or highlight 1 and 2 and then drag it down as far as you would like. So maybe you want to have 23 different colors. Then you would continue to add in different colors. But don't forget that you would have to then select your area again and go to conditional formatting to add in those additional colors so that your next image will include all of them. Okay, so that's one way that you can bump it up. You could focus on a section of the multiplication chart that you find particularly challenging. Like maybe you find the 7 times tables really difficult. So you might focus on making an image just with one color because your answer will be 7 and practicing those division equations. Another option is you might decide to find as many combinations as possible to produce the same color. So let's say, for example, the number 10. How many different combinations can you come up with that have the number 10? So, and you can make a pattern with this maybe. So equals 100 divided by 10, 10. Maybe you skip one and you're going to do a pattern. Maybe you'll do a checkerboard pattern, for example. So 150, whoops, equals 150 divided by 15. Okay, so you get the idea. You could practice coming up with as many different ways as possible. You could do 5 times 2, same thing. Okay, so that's just a couple ways that you could bump up this project if you have finished early or you want to stretch yourself a bit. Thanks for watching.